We're here tonight to talk to the internationally acclaimed film director Ken Loach and member of Left Unity, a political party, to talk about the party's policies and the upcoming election. So why should people vote for Left Unity?
People should vote for Left Unity because it's the only serious alternative to the main parties. The Tories, Liberals, Labour, certainly UKIP, support the austerity programmes of cutting back on public expenditure, which in effect means cutting the services which affect the most vulnerable people. The Greens have good policies, but they still believe, according to their spokesman, in responsible capitalism. Well, Left Unity and the socialist left has a different standpoint, and I think it's only through a thoroughgoing change in society can we protect the environment, can we create a dignified life and a peaceful life and a secure life for people. Because at the moment, work will be temporary, it'll be casual, it'll be 0 hours contract, it'll be agency work, and we need a different kind of work. We need secure employment, producing goods we need, with a fair price, and you can only do that through a planned economy, which is publicly owned.
I mean, over here in Bristol West, the Greens have got quite a good shot, actually, in the race against the incumbent Stephen Williams, who's a Lib Dem. Why, and you know, they put forward policies of being anti-austerity, free education, more social housing. Why shouldn't people vote for Greens as opposed to Left Unity?
But I think the problem with the Greens is when they've been in power, they have been involved in the austerity politics, and I think you need, if you're anti-austerity, then you shouldn't implement austerity policies, and that's what they've done in council, particularly in Brighton, where they were caught in a strike against council workers on the wrong side. So I think the Greens have good people in it, and some of their policies are good, but the core of their analysis is flawed. And I think it's very important that we keep the ideas of the socialist left alive, because that, in the end, are the only ideas that will save us.
So, speaking about those ideas, do you think the rise of kind of European left-wing parties such as Podemos in Spain or Syriza in Greece, is that having an influence in Britain? Has that informed Left Unity's policies?
There are sister parties. I mean, we're connected to Syriza and Podemos, and I think the fact that they've made such progress is very good. The problem is that they are kept out of the news here. You have to be interested in politics in order to find out about them. And that's one of the problems we've got, is that politics as represented in the mainstream takes austerity for granted. And when you're challenging that basic concept, of course, you don't get a hearing. But at meetings like this and on the doorstep, I think people are realising that conventional politics haven't worked, neither New Labour nor the Tories.
We've been going around Bristol doing quite a lot of interviews about how people are going to be voting. Down in Aviram just a few days ago, chatting to lifelong trade unionists who voted Labour their whole lives, worked on the docks, involved in various strikes, hated Thatcher, hated the Conservatives, but they're going to be voting UKIP this time because they're looking to shake up the establishment, or rustle some feathers, as they put it. Why do you think they're not voting for people on the left?
The UKIP gets a lot of publicity. UKIP gets all the publicity because it shares the views of the Daily Mail and the Daily Express. So all the anti-immigrant stories you see in the tabloid press feeds UKIP. But UKIP, of course, are the establishment. They support big business, they support low taxes, they're little Englanders. And for trade unionists to vote UKIP, well, it's sheer folly. UKIP won't give back the rights of trade unions that Thatcher took away and that New Labour won't give back. We need strong trade unions. to defend jobs, real jobs, not 0 hours, not agency work, not casual work, not short-term contracts, real jobs. UKIP won't do that because UKIP stands behind the big corporations. The only way you can get that is through strong trade unions and a leadership that represents the interests of working class people. UKIP represents the bosses, and there should be no doubt a vote for UKIP is a vote for the harshest exploitation that the employers can wreak. So any trade unionists think of voting UKIP, you are the turkey voting for Christmas. Don't do it.
And there's a lot of young people who've never come across a trade union, working in casualised workplaces on 0-hour contracts, aren't really familiar with the term left wing, don't associate themselves with left because of that. How does a party that's named Left Unity reach out to those people?
Well, I think we can only do it through explanation and through engaging with people when they go to the job centre. Why do you think you haven't got a job? Why are you working for someone who's going to rip you off? And saying to them, there's a basic conflict in our society. The conflict is between those who own and have money and are in the positions of power, and those who have nothing but their labour. And that's the essential conflict in society. And we're not all in this together. There's a conflict of interests. The employer wants cheap labour that he has no responsibility for, that he can turn on and off like a tap, can send you down the road with no responsibility. Working people need security of employment. They need a secure wage. They need care when they're sick. They need looking after. They need entitled to a holiday. They need good education. They need a pension. The employers are providing less and less of that. And the Tories who speak for the employers are providing less and less. So that's the fundamental conflict. And if you're one of the ordinary working class people, your interests are not being represented. It's only people on the left that represent those interests, because they stand for a different kind of society.
So what would you tell people who are going to be voting Labour to keep out the Tories?
Well, I think sometimes tactically you have to do that. If there's no one standing from the socialist left, then I would vote Labour to keep the Tories out. I mean, I would even, if it's a choice between Tory and Liberal, if there was no other choice, I would vote to keep the Tories out, because they are the principal enemy. The Liberals are Tories with a little more of a conscience, but effectively they're Tories. The Labour Party speak left but act right. So effectively, if there's a socialist left candidate standing, vote for the socialist left. Then you have to vote. Otherwise, you have to vote tactically. I think sadly, our electoral system doesn't give you any alternative.
Any final comments from you?
No, except to say that Bristol has a very strong radical tradition. Tony Benn was an MP here. I mean, the riots in the 19th century and so on. And I know in the Bristol Cable you represent some of those radical traditions. So I think people, if they have the possibility to vote for a left candidate, Left Unity or Tusk, then they should remember these are principles that go back centuries, and people in the Labour Party used to believe in them. So if you vote left, you're voting for a set of ideas that have always stood behind the interests of working class people. They go back to the Chartists, they go back to the Civil War, they go back to the Peasants' Revolt. So it's a long historic struggle between the people in power and those who oppose them. So that's why it's important to have a Left Unity candidate support.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.